Hello there. Welcome to Dirty Linen with Dani Valent. That is me. So happy to have you with me for today's chat. Our guest today is Hilary McNevin. Hilary has a marketing and PR agency called Turnip Media. And at a time when so many restaurants are wondering how to get customers through the door and keep them coming back, I thought it was a great opportunity to bring on an expert to share some insights about how best to do that. I've known Hilary for ages. She's worked in restaurants for ages. She's worked in food media, and she's jumped the fence to help food businesses get media attention, but also to market to their communities. She speaks with a lot of clarity and honesty, openness, but also she has a really personal motivation for wanting restaurants to put their best foot forward. I hope you enjoy today's chat. Before we launch off with Hilary, I would love to remind you to subscribe to the Deep in the Weeds newsletter. We come at you every fortnight with content that you will not find anywhere else. Food news, competitions, wonderful musings from Huck, some wine chat from Shante, and seafood intel from John. So just a little network roundup, including podcasts that you might have caught or might have missed over the past few weeks. Sign up in the show notes or on any of our socials. I am loving winter. Yes, I am. Even when I get out with the dog in the morning and it's 1 degree. But yeah, I'm loving wintry food. I'm thinking about the veal shin with over polenta with some black truffle that I had recently at Bao Bao Dining in Mount Eliza, a lovely little restaurant that I will be reviewing soon for Good Weekend. I went recently to the new Dainty Szechuan iteration at the OG Dainty in South Yarra. So it's now called Dainty on Toorak, and it should be called Fancy on Toorak because it is a very fancy reno, but still that fantastic Szechuan food. Loved it. Really, really good. It's such a classic Melbourne restaurant. I've recently eaten and loved and written about an Ethiopian restaurant in Ascot Vale called Sink, Sink. And this, sometimes those humble family restaurants are the ones that make you fall in love with hospitality all over again. This was one of those. So just a really beautiful restaurant run by three sisters and the husband of one of them. The big sister, Helena, she is the keeper of all the recipes, and her Doro Wat, a chicken stew cooked with lots and lots of onions and berbere spice, a classic East African spice blend. I could actually live on it. Even though it's interesting times in hospitality and the economy, there is so much to enjoy, so much to love, and people putting so much heart into everything they do. Speaking of people with heart, that is a good segue to today's discussion with Hilary McNevin. Let's get to it.
You're feeding people, you're bringing people together at a table and giving them an environment to be together. You're creating that environment. So that's an incredibly giving and generous and abundant gesture. So if your core values aren't sort of aligned with that, why are you doing it?
Hilary, welcome to Dirty Linen. Great to have you on the show.
Dani, thanks for having me.
So you wear quite a few different hats. I would love you just to give people a bit of an outline of what it is that you do.
Oh, sure. So I have a business called Turnip Media, and really under that umbrella, we function under the three pillars of content, connection, and community. So really and you could say that's PR and marketing and all those sorts of things fall under that banner. So content, we help people or assist clients with either writing and helping them structure the words for their websites. We write EDMs, but within that we also help them develop a tone of voice document, and help them really set a foundation for the language of their business. And of course, that will evolve. But if you establish a style guide and a really strong foundation of words you like, words you don't like, and how you like to speak to your audience, that's something we help with. In terms of community, we love collaborations and partnerships and events and, getting different sort of, whether it's different tasting and food and wine matching, or products with put in the hands of some chefs, that kind of thing. We have a lot of fun with that kind of product raising. Even I think we've got an event you and I are involved in soon that will have a lot of that kind of developing a community and producers community around us. And also we work with Connection, and that's, I guess, what I call PR, media connection. We connect when the stories are there to tell and we've got the right angles and everything's feeling good. We develop a media campaign and go out to media and people like you, Dani, and other people and great publications and writers and say, hey, we've got this great story to tell about this really exciting client and we think your readers will love it. So that's, in a long-winded nutshell, what we do.
I mean, it's not long-winded at all. And what I love about it is the clarity that you bring to what you offer. And I think that's one of something I really want to talk about today. I suppose one of my aims for today is that we get your insights into how restaurants and other food businesses can better think about marketing. And, we know it's interesting times economically, and that some people are, wondering where best to spend their money. So I guess, what do you see restaurants doing well, or where would you like them to get to in terms of communicating with their own communities, whether they be geographic, ethnic, cultural in other ways, whatever it is, and telling their story best to media?
I think what's in essence is knowing what they want to say. So when you open a business, any kind of business, but particularly, and food and wine as well, why are you doing it? Yes, you might be a chef and it's like, I want to run my own business. I want to put my food out there. Take a step back and go, why do I want to put my food out there? And what is it about my food that I want everyone to know about? But also, and not just your food, what experience do I want to give people? So it's a very holistic approach, and if you have that foundation of who you are and why you are, before you go to a marketer, it's really, really helpful. A person who does marketing can help you establish that. So you could, as you're establishing your restaurant, go, okay, we need to actually get a bit of a mission statement or a bit of our core values organised and sorted, and then build from there. Because anything with small businesses, but from being someone who worked in restaurants for many years, and this wasn't, showing my age, but that was many years ago when you didn't talk about core values and mission statements. But now I think to get through all the noise of social media and to rise to the top, you need to really be able to say to journalists and to the various kinds of media we have out there, this is who I am and this is why I want you to know about me, but in a storytelling context. So, a very clear vision of who you are and why you are, I think, is a great starting point.
So what sorts of starting points could someone come to you with? You're like, okay, yep, this is going to be fun. We are going to smash it. And then conversely, what sorts of things do you hear that make you, feel like, okay, there's a bit of work to do here. We're really going to need to tease this one out.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I can give you an example of someone who's come with, they've got their basically their identity sorted. So they've gone to a graphic designer and started really teasing out who they are and how they want to visually represent themselves. Now, as us coming in with a particular story we're telling is through a media campaign, as well as through digital marketing and social media. They know the food, the menu's sorted, the drinks are looking good. So they've built that foundation and they're really excited about what they want to bring to the public. And they're starting to, by giving us ideas of logos. They haven't settled yet, but they're showing us where they're heading. That helps us tap into the language and talking to them and spending time with them and talking to them about their favourite inspirations and why they're doing what they're doing and what can we read up about, where can we go and eat that they love, and really kind of, this is fun, this is going to be a hoot, And then there's the other side where someone comes in and just says, can you get me into good food? Can you get me here? And it's like, well, I know from working and, as a journalist and as a food writer, and as you know very well, Dani, what's the hook? What's the story? Why am I going to go to the media with this? I can't just go and say, here you are, look at this. What I can do is I step back. I ask them to step back and say, well, let's look first at how you're telling your story just to your immediate community and your regulars. So look at your website, look at your social media, and then are they cohesive? Because if I send a media release to you, Dani, and to any other journalist, when you read the release, you might be really interested and go, I'm going to just look at their socials. I'm just going to look at their website. Now, if they're not cohesive in telling the same story that the media release has given you, it's disjointed and it's not going to hold your attention, and you're not seeing their intention.
Yep, that is absolutely true. I can verify that.
I thought you might. Thank you for that.
I mean, restaurants that come to you and say, okay, get me into good food, or, I want to get a hat. Do you sometimes feel like restaurants' ambitions for their identity are a mismatch with their ambitions for the business?
Yes. So if someone comes to me and says, yeah, exactly that, I want a hat. It's, did you only open the restaurant only to get a hat? Because if that's the only thing you're hanging your hat on, pardon that terrible pun, but if that's the only reason you're doing it, I think you're lost. I think anyone who wins awards often says, of course they're lovely, but you don't do it for the awards. You do it because you're dedicated to a career and a profession in hospitality, and the levels and layers to that are many, and from sensory experiences to comfort to nurturing to creating community. And if you have food that happens to be tapping in at the right time to the right audience and to actually getting attention from media, you're tapping to a media's readership too, and I think that's really key from media background, even restaurant background, people realising that media and journalists write for their audiences, not for the hospitality industry as such. So I think that's really important. I often, if someone, and people have said that to me, I really want a hat, and I just say, why? And yeah, it'll bring more people in and it'll do this, it'll do that. But maybe it will be, but are you being true to yourself? And if you really want a hat, you get a hat. You will ultimately get one if you're being true to you and looking at the environment around you and what you're engaging in and what you're creating. I hope that makes sense, because I just think it's don't shortchange yourself, and only if I'm not in good food, I'm a failure. If I'm not in broadsheet, it's all gone wrong. We give the information to the media. They choose to do what they need to do with it for their readership. And I think that's something that we have to really, I've never stopped saying, because it's coming from different sides of the fence. It's really important that people know that.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I think sometimes restaurateurs don't put enough value in the communities that they've already started to build. I mean, obviously you're always looking for new customers, but there's probably lower hanging fruit that's, closer to you. And it's about having happy people in your restaurant, thinking about when they're going to come back, rather than, accolades that are just dispensed from outside, perhaps without, well, I don't know, I was going to say without understanding the business, but as a journalist, I hope that I do understand the restaurants that I write about, but you're not in the communities.
No, and you're writing about them because you believe, and, with your editor and everyone, that's going to be right for your readership at that time. And this, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're right, actually. The low-hanging fruit of the community and just that a restaurant has around them is just, it's just really rich, fertile soil on which to grow. And the beauty of word of mouth has never gone away. There's so many different ways or faster ways to communicate now, but just really nurturing your own community first. And then, yes, accolades will come if that's the way it's going to, really be pushed and focused, you can do a hardcore, right, we've got to get this hat, but you have to have the intention. And then when you get the hat, what's next? That's the thing about life in all our goal setting on anything we do, isn't it? You get there, but what's next? What do you want next? Well, you got the hat. Are you going to maintain it? Do you want two? It's about planning. You've got to really, really look holistically, as I said.
Where do you think are the good places to spend money? I mean, is it business specific? Is it, is 2023 different to 2024? Is 2025 going to be different? Where do you see things like professional photography, paying for social media advertising? Where do you advise people, that's money well spent?
In a digital marketing context, most certainly we encourage brand awareness campaigns through, so basically paid advertising, but we really kind of drill down and get into what you want to talk about. Is it a new menu, and do we do a seasonal campaign and create brand awareness through that? Or I also agree with photography. I think good photography and even some reels, a videographer and photographer, or someone who does both is, and you may only do that once or twice a year, but just to have, it's all about content, as we know, sort of within social media, and you want that content to stand out. So, and you want it to tell the story of you and to go back to your core values. And I think that's the thing we all go back to again and again for any business. But most certainly content, but also the word. Well, content includes words. So it's moving pictures and it's still images and it's the words and stories around it. Because some people, and that might be the captions coming up on the screen, but you want them all. That's where I would spend money initially, just really refining the content once you have established the foundation.
Hilary, you mentioned that you've got a long history in this industry. Can you share your background in restaurants?
Oh, Dani, showing my age, but I worked in restaurants both here and overseas in the UK for many years, front of house, and did a lot of wine study. Wasn't officially a sommelier, but lots of wine study throughout that time over in the UK. And I've had a great French sommelier. She's still one of my best friends, actually, and she taught me so much. And that was sort of in the 90s. And then I arrived in Melbourne, originally from Queensland, but I haven't lived there for a long time, and married a chef. And he, there was a time where he ran businesses, and I think, and they didn't work out. And so I have experienced the loss of a business and the impact that can have on a family, and that can have on, well, extended family and friends. And that was a profound time in my life and my family's life. So I, if I may, if you'll indulge me, Dani, I think that's one of the reasons. I didn't know that this was sort of the direction of my work. I'd wanted to write for a long time and did that. But as these opportunities to tell stories in a different way and through a marketing and PR lens has grown for me, it's really helped me realise that I don't want anyone else to feel like that and to go through that, because I know exactly what it feels like, and it's not fun. And so I would rather, when I talk about intention and core values, and there's a real joy to hospitality, as you and I both know well, and there's so much goodness and love around it that we can focus on. Yes, there's other stuff, and it's a hard industry, always has been. But if we can, I just don't want anyone else to ever feel like that.
I mean, it's a really beautiful and tender motivation for doing what you do and continually refining it, like such a powerful intention to bring into the work that you do. I mean, do you feel like that sort of, that clarity, that storytelling would have helped you back in the day?
Yes. If I can just say yes, I think, and strategy. I think I haven't said that word in this talk. Just building a foundation upon which you know where you want to go, but you need a strategy around that. So when you're whether it's with a marketer or not, when you're first setting up your business, why you're there, and the whys you're there and why you're doing this and why you're committing to such an enormous project because it's so time consuming, but also, and how you're going to do it. So that's the strategy, and that's where and it can just be, a list, bullet points, whatever it is, and it develops and evolves. But without knowing how you're going to get to where you want to go, and always coming back to it. So coming back to the strategy and the core values is really important. So, yeah, my answer is yes.
We're hearing a lot about different types of restaurants, and how hard it can be for independent restaurants these days. What you deal with a lot of owner-operated businesses. What are you seeing in terms of the challenges at the moment?
I think this is what I found is the common thread is the erratic nature of bookings now and how it's changed. So yes, post-COVID, we'll say that term, but either last-minute bookings. I've talked to some people who say, well, it was a Wednesday night, we had 2 twos booked, but so they staff accordingly, but then they'll have 30 walk-ins. So, and that makes it really hard because you can't give the guest what what your intention is, and the goal is always to give them a wonderful experience because you've only got you're understaffed and you're rushing. So I think that's really the unpredictability seems to be the common thread across even suppliers, restaurants, because I guess they all feed each other, don't they? Another pun, sorry, and that cycle. But that would be the hardest thing because that affects all the the staffing and the costing.
Yeah, it is that people love predictability in business, but yeah, hospitality seems unpredictable at every level at the moment, which
it does, doesn't it? Like you could always have people say to me, you could always count on Fridays and Saturdays to be your busiest, and then you could build the rest of the week around that. And I find, and that's changing now too, due to different focus on the CBD. Also midweek, I find a lot of the Tuesday to Thursday, because I think also with the cost of living conversations and realities for people, maybe that's the last minute thing that people are actually tapping into, in that, we do have money this week, let's go out, and let's just walk in, or let's just walk down the road to the local restaurant or something. Whereas a week ago they may not have thought they could, but you know what I mean? So that drives it as well. There's a lot of fragility out there, I think, and uncertainty.
Yeah. I mean, you'd like to think that people are so delighted by the idea of dining out that they just find themselves walking out the door.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. You just hope that, the restaurant experience is resilient and, is so infused with joy that it helps people decide that that's a good place to spend any disposable income that they do have.
I hear, because it is a joyful thing. That's the word I always come back to with it. Find the joy. Where's the joy?
Yeah. Well, speaking of something that's going to be fun and joyful, you and I are co-MCing an event in the middle of July, and it's called Little Food Market. We've been, chatting a lot about that. So I suppose that's why we thought, you'd better come on the podcast. But tell us, Hilary, about Little Food Market.
Well, as you know, Dani, it is the Big Design Group who do the Big Design Market, twice a year in Melbourne, and they do it in Sydney as well. Their food offering for the design market was becoming so popular and growing so quickly that they decided to hold a little food market, which isn't little at all. It's at the Royal Exhibition Buildings, as you said, in mid-July, and with over 170 exhibitors and small, interesting, operator-owned, as we were talking about, owner-operated, talking before, and everything from, olive oils to cheeses to ceramics to homeware to wine. You tell me, Del. There's so much. There's pantry goods.
Cocktails, chili oil.
Exactly. Fermented goods. Frank Camorra will be there cooking. Sharon Flynn from the Fermentery, Raf Rashid. There's Giorgio from That's Amore. So you and I are sharing the emceeing duties on the stage throughout the weekend. And while that's happening, there's going to be over 170 stalls and places for people to go and taste and talk to the producers, but also buy So it's like an enormous supermarket, food fantasy supermarket, I like to think of it, and as well as beautiful food to sit down and eat and drink. You know, the guys, T and JY from Huck on Banh Mi will be there, and the guys from Rocco's. Who else is eating? A lot of people. Maggie's from Brunswick will be there feeding us. We're going to have a good time. The guys from, Soda Smiths will be there with their beautiful drinks, alg seaweed. I could be here for a while, doll, if I go through the whole list.
Yeah, well, people can check it out. But with your marketing hat back on, Hilary, what sort of impact can being part of this sort of collective event have on a small food brand?
I think it's really very powerful and positive, Dani, and one reason I say that very confidently is I've been to a couple of the design markets, one at Christmas and one at the end of their almost winter one at the end of May, and chatting to this particular market is really has great impact. And each vendor I spoke to, some people I knew and they just gave me information about it willingly, and others I went in and had big chats to. And they all said it was just one of the best markets to be involved in terms of marketing because it's a shopping adventure. And they often they said you go to other trade shows or other markets and it's more of a marketing, it's not about making money. Whereas the little food market and the big design group have created an environment where this is about revenue and income, as well as putting their brand out there to over 30,000 people who'll be there over the 3 days. So it's really positive.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I suppose, it's an interesting question for food brands to ask themselves if they do have an opportunity to be part of an event. What is the balance between the marketing opportunity and the revenue opportunity? And that's a really good question to ask yourself as you're considering whether to be part of something.
Exactly. Do some research into what the market is, and also, and markets like the big design group, of course, they have everything you need to sort of tap into and read about their engagement and the return that people have experienced there. So it's about really some of those when you're first starting out with a product or your own restaurant, or you want to go and just talk to people, it might just be a marketing opportunity. But as you grow and as you tap into and sort of spread your wings and get into and realize that there might be an opportunity for you and your product within a market environment, definitely research and get in early with things like the little food market, because I think it was nearly full by Christmas last year, wasn't it? And it's in July 19th.
Yeah, that's a lot of trust in what they're putting together. But yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be really fun, and I feel like I'm going to come home with a full shopping bag every day as well.
We will have a stash after stash, let me tell you. Oh, and there's show bags. They love the first thing every of the 3 days of the market. They have 300 show bags on offer for each, and they're $15. But they put all these little. It's worth more than $15. So they love people to know about that. Get in early, jump in.
Nice. Love that. 298 show bags after we get ours, right?
Hello. Thank you very much. I should have said that first. 298. Thanks. That's it.
So, Hilary, we've spoken quite a lot about values today, but I feel like we haven't really, explained what that might mean for a business. I mean, what if someone's listening to this and they've got a restaurant or a food brand, they wish revenue was greater, and you've talked very strongly about values being a key underpinning of everything else. What sort of values are we talking about?
Ah, lovely. It's, I guess, from things like, it's a word used a lot, but it's important, authenticity. So is being authentic and true to yourself part of your values? Like, it's almost like looking in the mirror for a bit and I want to start this business. Why do I want to start this business? Do you want to build a community like we were talking about before? Is that a core value? And nurture those and have families be around long enough where you hear those beautiful stories about long-term restaurants who have their regulars bringing their children and their grandchildren in, that kind of thing. Do you want that? Is family important to you? Is empathy important to you? And being and looking at your customers and your staff with an empathetic lens and compassion. So it's those, and passion and compassion, but it really standing back, because it is such an empathetic industry. If you think about the bottom line of, yes, the bottom line of making money, but you're feeding people, you're bringing people together at a table and giving them an environment to be together. And they don't have to think about the cooking, but they can experience all these beautiful elements to that, from the music and the lighting and the chair and the cutlery and how the glassware feels. And you're creating that environment. So that's an incredibly giving and generous and abundant gesture. So if your core values aren't sort of aligned with that, why are you doing it? That's how I feel about it. That's what values are to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, because you really want to be doing it because it's going to be hard.
That's it. And I think that, and of course, people will have other values. It's not just those, but that, to me, in terms of the restaurant and the actual just bare bones of what the beauty of the industry is, there's got to be some kind of, there's an emotional element to a value. Anyway, I think your core values, it's about what makes you tick and what makes you get up in the morning. So the purpose, I think, that looking at your values is the purpose, looking at your purpose in owning a hospitality business.
And Hilary, we love to give people instantly actionable advice on this podcast. I mean, is there anything, if someone's wondering about how to get more customers, how to increase loyalty, how to build their community, I don't know, how to refine their offering, are there any questions that they could ask themselves this week that you think could be quite helpful?
I'd sit down and look at your website and your social media accounts, and are they connecting? Is the narrative thread cohesive? And are your menus up to date? Just so, because I don't know about you, Dani, but still, it seems to be more and more menus are up to date now. But are they? And is there a wine list on there? And is it easy to find your location? All those things I know they might sound really simple, but the number of websites I've looked on for a restaurant, where are they? What are the opening hours? So are you clearly communicating your basic message? And then in terms of really ask other people what they think of your Instagram page or your Facebook, or how you're telling your message. Are you really stand back and look at it? That's what I would say.
I think that's amazing. That's really powerful and very actionable. Hilary, always so good to connect with you, and I'm excited about hanging out with you at the Little Food Market in July. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. A bit of marketing and PR 101, but so much more, expressed with such heart and beautiful intention. So thank you for sharing with us.
Dani, thank you for all you do. And we'll see you at the Little Food Market, if not before. Always love a chat.
Definitely.
And, hopefully we'll see all your listeners will come on down to the Little Food Market. We'll have some fun.
Definitely. All right. Catch you there.
Thanks, darling. Bye.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This